How's it going, everybody? After some slight technical difficulties on our part, we're finally going to get into the next Marvel Movies podcast. So, today, Ethan and I are going to be reviewing X-Men The Last Stand. So, we're very, very excited to talk about this movie and how brilliant and amazing that it is. And the best X-Men movie by a landslide, definitely.
Oh
Do you
yeah,
agree, Ethan?
100%, totally the best.
Yeah.
No sarcasm whatsoever.
Yeah, so this movie came out in, I believe, 2006. The third X-Men movie in the trilogy, pretty much the last original X-Men movie, and it was not good. It was directed by someone completely different called Brett Ratner, so you can clearly tell that things did not go very well. Yeah, so this movie, face value, I think is a very bad movie. It is actually not as bad as I remember it being from last time. And I think that's because, and I'm being 100% serious here, this movie is leagues better than Spider-Man 2. So, I think because we watched Spider-Man 2 last week, and now watching this one, it just goes to show how bad Spider-Man 2 really is.
Yeah.
So,
And this is actually the first time I've ever watched this movie, so I went in with a fully blank slate, and
yep.
it was enjoyable to watch, but you could definitely see how bad it was.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a fun experience to watch it, so.
Yeah, definitely. Like, compared to that of Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah, guys, I didn't, persuade Ethan into hating this movie, even though I tried. But, this is fully his opinion, the first time he's watched this, so he knows, he gets it. So, yeah. So, just right off the bat, this is definitely the weakest of the trilogy. Even though I would say that I enjoyed this one more than the first X-Men, I think that this is, definitely the weakest of them, I can tell. Even though I like this one better than the other one. So,
Yeah.
yeah. It sucks because this is the last of the trilogy, the last we'll ever see this cast together. So, it just kind of sucks that it went on like a whimper. But, hey, at least after this, we're done with X-Men for a little bit, so then we can move on to the other thing, so that's good. So, alright, so let's get started with our positives for the movie. So, Ethan, what is your first positive?
Well, I didn't have a lot, but I would say one of my favorite characters, which he became one of my favorite characters more at the end when he, fully realized his power, was Bobby, or Iceman. So
Yeah.
I really liked how throughout the beginning of the movie he wasn't my favorite. He didn't have some, at the beginning it was more relationship stuff, which I get it. I mean, they're trying to show normality and stuff, they're going through normal things and not giant wars. But near the end, when they showed him leveling up and getting his full ice body, which was I enjoyed that. It was a great show of his strength, seeing as how he's one of the strongest X-Men. So I'm glad they were able to show his power that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. He's a very good character. So.
Yes.
It just sucks that everything in the movie kind of is oh yeah, who do you want to fuck, Rogue or Elliot Page? So
Yeah, exactly.
This is very weird. But yeah, I will say that he's definitely a positive for me. I wish he was in it more again, and I wish we'd see more of him eventually in future movies, because he's really only in one more movie after this, so it really sucks. But yeah, he definitely is a really good character, and definitely wasted potential, I'd say, which, I mean, you can kind of chalk up this whole movie to being, but yeah. Cool. So, my first positive, actually, is that Kelsey Grammer as Beast did a very good job with what he was given.
Yes.
Everything that he does in this movie is extremely enjoyable. Every scene that he's in is actually a better scene that he's in it. The actor's doing a very good job. Beast looks like Beast. He looks really good. His fighting is really the best action in the movie, I'd say. So, Yeah, Beast I
Yeah.
thought was a definite positive.
Yeah, he definitely brought a lot into the scenes that he was in, and
Hmm.
he's like the diplomat in this movie. So it was really cool to see him working, with the government and how they kind of betrayed him, kind of like
Hmm.
leaving him out of the loop. So,
Yeah.
and then at the end when he was fighting, those fighting scenes were pretty awesome. So,
Yeah. So yeah, Beast really good. So do you have any
yeah.
more?
I think the only other positive I had was that Wolverine was much stronger in this movie,
Yeah.
and I think it was a better representation of his powers. He didn't get shot in the head and fall over for 10 minutes, so
Yeah.
he actually could sustain fighting, and he didn't. I don't think he did get knocked down in this whole movie, which I really enjoyed.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
And when he did, like the only time he did was when he was fighting Jean, and like the first
Yeah,
time she woke up. But even then, that makes a lot more sense than just being shot in the head because it's Jean who's the
exactly.
most powerful mutant. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
that one's understandable. So yeah, I agree with you on that. He definitely is a lot stronger in this one.
yeah,
So yeah, and going off of that, my next and final positive is that the action I think is the best in the trilogy, definitely.
yeah.
Again, very low bar because all of the action in these series are not very good, but especially in this one, the action I thought was really handled well. And I'm really talking about like the final battle. Like Beast did all those things that were really cool. Wolverine, Kitty Pryde, Storm, what the fuck, Iceman. Like all those fights were really well choreographed and did a really good job
Hmm.
on. So I think that all of that action was really good. I mean,
Yeah,
everything else in the movie, like the action was very like sparse. Like definitely, like the only time a big battle happened was at the end. But just for that last battle, everything that they did was really well choreographed compared to the other ones, I'd say. So.
yeah, definitely. Also, Storm's powers. I like to see that Storm, again, had a much bigger role than the previous
Mhm.
two,
Yeah.
like taking over the school
Mhm.
and everything. So I really enjoyed seeing that because it showed more of her power.
Yeah. Because she did really, she did use her power a lot. I wish we would have seen a little bit more of it, but for
Yeah,
what she was given, she was good. The only thing I didn't like about Storm in this movie is her fucking hair. Like, oh my god, that look that looked terrible. but but yeah. So
yes.
cool. Is that all we
Hmm.
have for positives?
Honestly, I think so.
All right. So, yep, again, not good movie. Still not good. Alrighty. So, I'll get into my first mixed. So, the story of this movie. Technically, there are two stories to this movie, but also technically, there's only one story to this movie. So, the main story pretty much is the mutant cure. So, the cure, I think, is actually a very interesting concept because obviously, like, the big dynamic thing that everyone is trying to go with is, oh, should mutants have a cure? Like, is it an illness? Or should it be treated as one or not? Like, I think that's a very interesting concept,
Yeah,
but the execution is definitely very lousy because they focus on it so much, but they also don't focus on it enough, which is very weird.
yeah,
Because they try to show off everything that it can do, like they like, oh yeah, like the government says, like, oh yeah, don't worry, Beast, we're not going to use it for this, and then they put it in guns. So it's
yeah,
very like, with like how the military is handling it, and also the story, how the story handles it, because it's just so all over the place, and especially when they try to put in the Dark Phoenix shit in here, it just makes the whole story very cluttered and very like not good. So I feel like they should have used the cure by itself as a whole movie instead
yeah.
of trying to like juggle so many plot points.
Yeah, I was gonna say that they took two big storylines and tried to put them together in one movie, and
Yeah.
it just took away from both of the storylines.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really, with the Cure storyline, I liked how they represented it. how there's two sides of it. People who were offended by calling it a cure, and then the people who wanted to take it. I think it really showed how people's minds work. Because if like something were like this were to happen in like our society in real life, I feel like that's exactly how it goes.
Yep.
There's two sides to everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the way they did it, they kind of, making it as a weapon after kind of, saying, oh no, we're not going to do that. And then like the next scene, like, oh, we have a gun that shoots needles with the cure in it.
Yep.
And some of the things are not explained, like when they developed as a weapon, like that just showed up.
Yeah.
And yeah, the kid, the whole point of the kid was to show, oh, we're basing it off his powers, and we're like getting it from his powers, but we don't see how they do that either. He's just locked in a room. So there's a lot more they could have added to it to make it run smoother, but
yeah,
I honestly think that even with a little more tweaking to it, that storyline could have been solid, even if it was running alongside a different story. But putting it next to Dark Phoenix took away from all the Dark Phoenix things, because her whole thing is that she's the strongest mutant, and it didn't really show it except for like a few scenes, but like that definitely should have been its own movie.
Yeah. Like, I really think that the cure should have just been the focal point of this movie, and then at the end or something, like maybe at the end credits, like Jean comes back and then sets up Dark Phoenix for the next movie. I think that would have been a million times better, but I'm assuming, again, I don't know, like we don't really dive into like a lot of research for this, for like behind the scenes stuff besides like common knowledge. But from what I do know, is that the studio had a disagreement with Bryan Singer, who was the guy who directed the first two. So I know that he was going to direct this one, but I think like studio interference made him leave the project, and he went on to work on Superman Returns, which, I guess nobody really wanted that situation because both those movies suck. But he went off to do it, so they got this other guy in it. I don't know what he's made, but like he didn't do a very oh, actually he did Rush Hour, so
okay,
that's something, I guess. But besides that, he's not really.
Yeah, he
didn't do a very good job. So I don't want to just blame him, because I'm assuming there's a lot of parties involved as to why this movie turned out the way it did. But I honestly don't know. Like, I'm definitely sure that the studio wanted Dark Phoenix, because like we said when we did X-Men 2, is that Dark Phoenix was like a giant storyline, so they wanted like to make that so they could make a lot of money. And I'm assuming by the way that X-Men 2 ended, because that ending sucked with Dark Phoenix when they were trying to set it up, I'm assuming that was the studio and not Bryan Singer. So I really think that everything having to do with the Dark Phoenix, I do think is the studio's fault and not either the directors. So
yeah,
that's what I feel about it. So that's why I think it doesn't do very well.
Yeah.
Alright, so what's next? Alright, so my next mixed so we'll get into Dark Phoenix and negatives, of course, but for mixed, that's why it's a mix. I'm divided on it. I'm happy and not happy that they killed off Cyclops in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just Cyclops as a character just blowed. He was a horrible character in both of the movies. He was bad. He didn't do anything. So when they killed him off in the first 5 minutes, I was like, oh, thank God, just put him out of his misery. But at the same time, I was like, but you could have done more with him. But they just decided, no, let's just kill him. So.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting, because the way they decided to do it, like in the past two movies, like you said, he barely did anything, and he was like a punching bag. That's all his character was. So when we saw him in this movie, he's a wreck. You know, Jean just died. So when he hears her in his head, he goes searching for her.
Yeah.
And then when he gets there, that's basically his last scene. Like,
Yep.
she kills him, and then we never see him again.
Nope.
Which is a theme with this movie, okay? Like, fucking,
Yeah.
they kill him, or then they just leave and we never see him again.
Yeah.
The thing with Cyclops, though, is I'm glad they killed him off because, again, they would have just made him a punching bag in this movie. So by
Yeah.
taking him out completely, it left out his bad character, I guess. But,
Yeah.
you know, the way they killed him off, they could have done that much better. Instead of just, you know, not... It was like an off-screen kill, so...
Yeah. And all they did was show his glasses.
Yeah, that's all we saw, yeah. But the thing with this movie is they don't make a connection to the characters, so when they die, you're not like, oh no, they died. What are they gonna do next? But
Yeah.
with this movie, they literally just die, and then all the characters just move on. They're like, oh, okay, they're dead. Like they have no
Yep.
emotional, like. It's like looking at it, you don't see any emotional connection to the characters. So that's one thing that really sucks about this movie is just because you should be able to connect to the characters, but you can't in this movie.
Yeah.
So like when who else died? Oh yeah, Mystique didn't die, but she had her powers taken away. So they
Yeah.
just left her there, like, oh, you're human now, bye.
Yeah.
So it's like, but you've been working together for so long. You'd think that they'd be, you know, they'd have an emotional connection, but no, he just leaves her there, and then we never see her again in the movie.
Yeah.
So there's no emotional connection, so it takes that away. So you're just watching it happen. You don't feel like you're in the movie. You're just
Yeah.
looking down at it.
Yeah, it feels like a series of events. It doesn't feel like
Yeah,
they're all
exactly.
connected. It's just like, oh, here you go. This happened. This is happening. This is happening. This is happening. It's like, oh, okay. And like you said, they
Yeah.
go by so fast that you just don't really feel
Yeah,
anything.
you don't have any time to connect to it, and then they're like,
Yeah.
oh, nope, next thing.
Yeah. So it just blows. But for like, again, Cyclops, it sucks, but it also doesn't suck because he's an awful character anyway. And
Yeah.
I just, again, I don't care that he died because I didn't like him. But it's at that point where it's like, I feel bad for everyone who was a Cyclops fan who watched these
Yeah.
movies because they got, like, kicked in the balls every movie. So it's just like, Cyclops definitely deserved better because I know there's a big fan base who really likes Cyclops because he's legit the leader of the X-Men. But in these movies, legit, Wolverine just kicked his ass, and then he shows up and dies in the first 5 minutes of this movie. So
Yeah.
it's just like Cyclops, just in general, wasted potential, extremely wasted. So
Yeah.
that sucks. All right, so do you have any other mixed?
Let's see. The relationship between Bobby, Kitty, and Rogue. That
Yep.
that's a mixed for me because I get they're kind of trying to show normality, I think, but they don't focus it on it like so much. Like they don't focus on it enough. I'm saying, like for
Yeah.
it to be a main story point, they don't focus on it enough. And it's weird to see that because that also ties in with another character leaving, Rogue. And you know,
Yeah.
like she's been a main character in this whole movie, like this whole series, like since the beginning. So when she just leaves, you don't feel anything. She's like, oh, she's just gone. So, okay, and then, like this is the one character that they actually one person actually cares about leaving. So it's. It just doesn't make sense most of the time. So
No.
I don't know. It's just
I get you.
that's why it's mixed because it's not played out enough for it all to make sense for there to be an emotional like connection to it, like I
Yeah.
said before. But that's just one of the many storylines this movie doesn't do well. So
Yeah. Yeah, and also, what really sucks is that this is technically Rogue's last appearance.
mm-hmm.
You have to, so she will show up in Days of Future Past if you watch the Rogue cut, which is what you and I are gonna watch because I think that's the
Okay.
better version of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But in the original version of the movie, she's in that movie for 2 seconds. So technically, this is Rogue's like last full appearance, which sucks.
Yeah,
So, because she does nothing in this movie but be like, oh yeah, and she doesn't even use her powers once in this movie.
that's
Like,
true. She doesn't.
She doesn't use, even in the last movie, she used it at least once for like pyro, and even
Oh,
showing off like when she was kissing Bobby. But in this
Yeah.
movie, she doesn't even use them at all. So it's like,
I'm-
what the
I'm-
fuck is the point
I'm
of her?
pretty sure she does use it once. I think in the. I think it is it the danger room. Is that what they called the training thing? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But when they were in there, I think
Oh,
she
yeah,
took
yeah.
Colossus's power for like 2 seconds. But they didn't
Yeah,
even
see, I
really
remember
focus on
that.
that.
2 seconds.
But again, that's going to show that she doesn't do anything in these movies anymore. She's just a character that's in the movie. So, yeah.
And even at the end, she gets her powers taken away. She did
Yeah.
the cure. She's all good. Then, should she even be at the school anymore? Like, no.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
So it's just like, and we'll get into like the end of the cure in the negatives, of course. But just, the whole cure thing with her. It's just like, I get it, and I know what they were trying to go for like the hey, do it for yourself, not for some boy. I get what they were trying to do there, but they did that very poorly.
yeah.
Because it really did feel like she was doing it for Bobby. Like, it didn't feel like she was doing it for herself. So,
Right.
it's just like it was bad. And everything
Yeah.
with Kitty was really weird, like you said.
Yeah, and then, like, I didn't even know that she was the girl who walked through walls in the other movies.
Yeah. Because it wasn't the same actress, because they, like,
No.
replaced her with, like, a bigger name than this one. So it's like, oh. Hey. And it was funny. Like, they tried to act like she was always there. Because she was looking at, like, the Grace everybody at the end, being like, oh, I miss you guys so much. It's like, dude, you never even talked to any of them.
Exactly.
Except for the
like,
professor in this movie. So that's like, what?
yeah, we were watching it, and I'm like, wait, how does she, like, what's the connection? And, like, I didn't, how'd she become, like, on the main X-Men team?
Yeah,
When did
I
that
don't know.
happen?
No idea.
Like, just, she was just, I feel like, thrown in there just
Mhm.
because of that storyline.
Yeah. And again,
But-
like, Elliot Page does a good job,
Mhm.
but it's just like, dude, you did nothing. And the only time she didn't do a good job was when she was there, just like, oh yeah, come at me, dickhead.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, like I, at that point I was just ready to punch the screen because like
Yeah.
the whole Juggernaut thing we'll get into in the negatives, but
Yep.
oh my god,
Yeah, Ethan really hated that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
so,
Ooh.
God.
All right, well the
Alrighty.
next I think I have maybe one last mixed, and that was the new Brotherhood that they put together, which I liked that idea. Like they formed, like they actually had an army of mutants this time, and they actually had a a decent chance of winning because they had this whole
instead of
army.
just like 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, but the characters that they chose to represent
Oh God.
the Brotherhood were awful. I hated it. Like
Yep.
like their first interaction is like, "Oh, you're a mutant. Where's your mark?" I'm like, "Okay, that you don't have to like that. Just takes away the whole point. I don't know."
Yeah.
But like this man's power was to shoot spikes out of his body. Like that was his whole thing. Like
Yeah.
useless, and
Mhm.
they definitely should. I feel like they could have chosen better people to represent that, but
Mhm.
I'm not directing the movie. I guess not. So
Yeah, it just, and like the main ones were like the Spike guy and then like the teleporting quick moving girl, who could
Yeah.
also sense mutants' power levels. I guess like that was
Yeah,
weird.
like
It's like why did this bitch have two
interesting-
powers?
yeah, like interesting power combination there.
Yeah,
Like
it's
she
like
can move
those
fast,
don't-
but like,
yeah.
oh, I can sense their power levels. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
I guess.
those relate to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
let me think. Is there any more mixed?
I don't.
Oh,
want
oh, one last one. The bridge
Gotcha.
scene. The bridge.
Yeah.
When
Mhm.
that was pointless. Like he did all of that just to set up one little joke at the end.
Yeah.
Like it was.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The moving of the bridge was cool, but
Mhm.
it was pointless. Like
Charles,
he
I
just
talk
did it.
about building
to-
bridges.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
That's the whole. That was the whole punchline. Just like he always wanted to build bridges.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
come
like,
on.
shut up, bro.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, that was all for me on mixed. So
Gotcha. Yep. Me too. Now, legit, guys, the rest of this episode, all negatives. Like, I have like 30 negatives, bro. Like, I'm dying so much for this movie.
okay, let's go.
Alright, so, my first negative, which, okay, I think we should do Dark Phoenix at the end.
Okay,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I think we should save that for later. So,
Yep.
like we abbreviated to earlier, this movie is really good at being like, oh, remember this guy from the last movie? Fuck him. Remember this guy from the last movie? Fuck him. So we already talked about Cyclops, but
Yep.
Mystique is the first one who they take out in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So she gets captured because she's looking for shit about the cure. Magneto breaks her out, and then she saves him by jumping in the way and getting shot. She loses her powers. Magneto's like, "Oh, sorry, my best friend who I've known for like 70 years. You're not one of us anymore. Bye, bitch." And then, yep, that's the end of Mystique.
Yep.
And it's like,
Again-
what?
Yeah, and then I think the only other time we see her is I don't even know what she's doing. It looks like she's applying for a job or something. And we're just like
Yeah,
watching
I
her.
know.
Like
Yeah.
that's the last we see of her in this movie, and I feel like
Yep.
that was they.
Awful.
Oh, I just
It was
why?
awful.
Why
Yep.
exactly? Why? Just why?
And I feel bad because again they set her up like pretty good. Like she did nothing in the first movie. Then the second movie they finally give her a character, and then
Yeah.
this one they just like kill again. She didn't die, but I'm gonna say they killed her off because they pretty much killed her off in this movie.
Yeah, basically.
So it's just like ridiculous. It's like wow, this badass character who we grew to actually like in the second one. Nope,
Mhm.
she gone. And Magneto, what the fuck? Like okay, bye, my dear. It's like really. You've known her, like, for years. She's been your right-hand woman for years. And just, he doesn't even show any, like, sadness. He just looks at her like, what the fuck? And then he's like, yeah, bye. It's just
Bye,
like,
bitch.
huh? Like, I don't, even though Magneto's evil, I don't think he'd do that. So,
Yeah.
it's just so weird. I hated that.
Yeah, and like she's done so much for him just for him to throw her away like that.
Mhm.
It was like I don't know why they did that to her character because
Mm-mm.
like everyone I would say everyone like that's one of the best characters in this movie. So
Yeah.
for them to just get rid of her is just awful.
Mhm. Yeah, and again, I can't tell. Maybe like Rebecca Romaine's like, bro, I'm sick of putting on this makeup. I don't want to do it anymore.
maybe
Like,
yeah,
I
maybe
mean, that I could understand, but at the same time, this is the last time we see Rebecca Romaine show up as Mystique. And it sucks because she was a pretty good Mystique. I do think Jennifer Lawrence eventually does a better job, but at the same time, it's like, dude, I liked this version of her, and then they just...
Yeah.
So, it really blows, because she was one of the best characters. So, it's like, bye.
Yeah.
It's just a waste.
Yeah. Alright,
Yeah.
let's see. What do I have for a negative?
Oh,
Oh!
scroll through all of them.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we can talk about Juggernaut now.
Yep,
Fuck
go ahead.
that guy. Alright? Like, I know the actor, like, he's been in a lot of movies, and he does so much better in other movies, but this movie was... He did terrible. Like... the design for one. I'm basing the design off of Deadpool, because his design in Deadpool is so much better, and like it actually in Deadpool it captures the comic essence of him, where he's this giant dude, but in this one he's just like, oh, he's I don't know, a foot taller than me, and
He was slightly taller than Magneto.
yeah, and he just has a little helmet, and he just gets headbutts through walls. Okay.
Yeah.
He's just a little charging bull. That's all he is. And not to mention that he's Professor X's brother, and when they come in contact, they just walk right past each other, not even acknowledging that fact. Like, that was... I literally turned to you, I was like, wait, they're supposed to be brothers. What the fuck is this?
They just had to ignore that.
Yeah, of course, because what else would they do in this movie?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and his, like, introduction is, like... The first line he has is like, oh yeah, you better take this off, I gotta go take a piss. I'm like, what the fuck?
I forgot about that.
Oh my god.
Oh my
like,
God.
I know it's weird because he's kind of, the actor he's more an action guy, but he's also a comedy guy. So it's weird that they chose him. It's just, I feel like it was bad casting and bad design for his character. It just took him, a great character that's like beloved by a lot of people, and then just shit on him in this movie, which is it was sad to watch.
Yeah.
And he's barely in it too.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
Yeah, like, no, apparently we don't know who you are. Yeah, in his whole, I think the only time we get to see him in action is when he's headbutting walls. Like, and then he headbutts a wall and we never see him again.
Yep.
Yeah, that just pissed me off watching the whole movie. Like,
Yeah.
he's this big, violent dude. And his whole helmet thing is so... Again, it's like Magneto's power. Like, what Magneto's helmet's for is so that Xavier can't read his mind. That's the whole point of Juggernaut's helmet. And in this movie, they're like, what's the helmet for? It's like, to protect my head? Well, fuck you!
Yeah.
Like, they took away his whole character just by taking away their connection to Professor X, which... Oh, his whole character just pissed me off.
Yeah. For good reason, too. It sucked.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
And we definitely need a better Juggernaut in the future.
Yeah. Actually, in Deadpool, they actually did that one pretty well. I don't remember if he had a connection to Professor X, but...
I think they mentioned it, like, a little bit.
Sorry.
But...
Say it again. I didn't hear you say.
Oh, I think they mentioned it a little bit.
Yeah, I think they did,
it.
but I can't remember. So
yeah, but I mean, like, I hope they bring that one back for like a future movie.
Definitely. Although he did get zapped in the butthole, so we'll see.
That's okay. Who hasn't? He'll be back.
Yeah, exactly. He's the Juggernaut. He's fine.
Yeah, he's the Juggernaut, bitch. He'll be fine.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
So
alright, what's my next negative? Alright, we already talked about Rogue. Okay. So, what else? The X-Men. The X-Men themselves. I'll go into that. I was like, okay, should I focus on a character? Now let's talk about them all. Okay. So, the X-Men are only 6 people in this movie.
Yeah.
And they all suck. Again, I like you said earlier, like how they do Wolverine powers better. Wolverine is a character. What character?
Yep.
He's not... It's funny, because there's part of me that was like, okay, I'm glad Wolverine wasn't in this one as much, but at the same time, it's like, he also wasn't in it that much, either. So, it's just like, okay, you weren't... They tried to make you, like, the main character, but you also weren't even in it. So it's just like so freaking weird. It's just like Wolverine just sucked in this movie, I'll say, because his whole thing is like, oh my god, I love Jean, even though I only knew her for like a couple weeks. So it's like, oh no. And then like Storm, I think they did pretty good, but like Colossus, does he even talk in this movie? I don't even think he does. So,
yeah, he has like a little bit of voice lines, and I think his whole power is actually in the battle. I don't think we even saw him.
No, he was in the lineup, and then he just disappeared.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
He was there, and then he was gone.
Yeah, and then like Iceman did some cool stuff by himself. Kitty did Juggernaut, so I mean, do with that as you will.
Yeah.
But like the thing about like the characters themselves, okay, they're okay, but the thing is that the intro of this movie was setting up like, oh, we need to work as a team. We need to work as a team. We need to be X-Men. We need to be a team. And at the end of the movie, they all fight separately. So
yeah,
it's like, no, you guys are trying to go for something. And even at the very end, where Wolverine's like, oh yeah, you're right, we need to work as a team. So let's do the exact same thing I did last time.
Yeah,
like what?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, at the end, his whole plan was he was the distraction, basically, for Beast to, stab the 4. I must elaborate on the 4 needles of this cure. That
we'll get back to that later.
Yeah, but they did work a little bit as a team. But like their whole setup going into this battle is like, oh, we gotta work together as a team. We're stronger together. And then again, like you said, they just split up and do their own thing, which sucked. I mean, also they're only 6 people. So I guess splitting up maybe made sense, but not really. But the only 3 I really liked watching was Storm, Wolverine, and Iceman, just because their powers were shown the most.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, not that much.
Yeah, I know.
That's also something else I wrote down. They didn't do anything cool with their powers. Like, none of it was cool. The only cool part was when Iceman became Iceman, finally. And that was legit 2 seconds. So everything else, it's like, dude, they really did nothing. And even
Wolverine Wolverine didn't really do anything new.
No.
I mean, like his in the battle, he just found a regenerating guy, cut off his arms a bunch of times, then kicked him in the balls and walked away. And then that was basically the only new thing he did in this movie. But and then on Storm's front, she was fighting and she was doing fine, and then the fast one showed up and started fighting her. And I looked away for like 1 second, and then she's zapping her against a gate.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, that was fast.
Yeah, it was like that whole battle wasn't like that. Should have been more fleshed out, because it was like one of the main bad guys, kinda.
Yeah.
And then she was just taken down so easily.
Yeah.
This movie, bro.
Yeah, I know. It's like, Jesus Christ. So it's weird because, again, in the other movies, like, everyone did at least something cool. Like, at least each of the X-Men did one thing that was cool, besides Cyclops. But in this movie, legit, none of them, except for Iceman. So it's just like, dude, and even Kitty, to a degree, it's like, oh, she's just running through walls. Yeah. We already knew she could do that. Anything cool with it? Nope. So
nope, she was just on the front lines this time.
Yeah. I mean, she at least did one slightly cool thing with Juggernaut when she pushed him into the ground, but that was immediately undermined by, I'm taking that bitch. So it's just like, that completely ruins it. So.
Yeah.
So just all the X-Men in this movie, it's just like, dude, really? They suck.
Yeah. And then, 4 needles, okay? 4 needles. So, we were watching this movie, and then you're like, wait for it. I'm like, and then we're on the scene where he's playing chess. he's got the metal chess pieces. I'm like, haha, that's ironic. And then he just starts pushing it. I'm like, 4 needles!
Yep.
Because, like, before that, like, in the scene when they actually gave him the cure, I'm like, okay, you gave him 4 when you could have just give him 1 and then saved the rest for Jean. But no. Apparently 4 needles don't do shit. Oh my god. Like, that was... Oh boy.
Yep, and that's why I gotta say that the whole movie is completely useless because of that.
Exactly.
Like, the whole movie's about the cure, the mutant cure. Are we gonna get cured or are we not gonna get cured? Whatever. And at the very end, nope, Magneto got stabbed with 4 cures.
Yep.
And gets his powers back. So, does that mean that everyone who got the cure is gonna get it back too? Like, is Mystique gonna become Mystique again? Like, is Rogue good? Again, like I said earlier, Rogue's gonna be fucking Bobby, and then suddenly Bobby's gonna die. So it's just like, the whole point of it's so stupid now that they got it taken away.
Yeah, there was again, like you said, it's entirely pointless for this whole movie. Especially, like, this is a main storyline, and then they're like, oh, no, it just doesn't work on him. He'll get those back. I'm like, okay, well, if you're gonna take out a main character, just take him out and leave him there. Like, I was cool enough to watch him get his powers taken away, and he's like, oh no, I'm one of them. Like, that would have been great to just keep him like that, and then he's living his life, like, looking back on what he's done and, like, stuff like that. But no, he just gets his powers back and, you know, he's perfectly fine. Like, it just, it's awful. Yeah, and again, I think they didn't want to get rid of him, so they brought him back alongside, guess who? Professor X, who apparently didn't die.
Yeah.
We literally watched die, and then you're like, it was the end credit scene, right? So I'm watching it, like, who's that? I'm like, I know that chest hair anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he spoke. I'm like, fuck, why is he back? We watched him die. So you just overturned everything that just happened. So, like, oh, are these other people dead too? Or no? Like,
it's like,
she killed
really
so many
Scott
people.
Really dead?
Yeah, she killed so many people just for Xavier to come back, and that just brings up the question, well, did her powers kill everyone? Are they gonna come back? Or not? Like...
Spoiler alert. Yep.
No! Okay, well, like, that is... just so dumb. Like,
this movie sucks.
yeah. That just takes away from her whole power being, oh, she's the strongest, she can, like, kill you in an instant, but no.
Yeah.
Apparently she can't.
Alright, so let's get into Professor X's death. First death of this series, where he dies in X-Men and MCU many times. So this is the first death of Professor X. The whole point of it, I understand why they killed him. Of course, just to, again, show that, like, hey, look how powerful Jean is. But like you said, it's completely undermined by the end. But his actual death scene, it's weird because I both like it and don't like it. Because I like the way, like, he's pleading for his life, and she's like, well, pleading for her life, and she's like, Lamau, no, sorry. And, like, that is like, oh yeah, that sucks. Because he did kind of manipulate her entire time she was with him, of course. Yeah. So that's kind of like, I understand. But at the same time, it's like I said before, and like I've said in the previous X-Men episodes, is that they write out Professor X, and they need to find a way to write him out in this one. They're like, let's just kill him. Yeah. And it sucks because, again, like I said before, he didn't really do much in the other movies, especially the last one. Because in the last one, he was a slave the entire movie. So for them to just kill him off instantly in this one, it's like, wow. Really? Professor X only did cool things in the first movie. And even that was, like, very brief. So they wasted Professor X in this whole series, which I think is just ridiculous.
Yeah. And I'd say the scene in itself is a positive because I enjoyed watching the scene, and this scene actually
Yeah.
felt like they tried to put emotion into it,
Yeah, exactly.
like the slow way that he he was fighting back. I would assume since it took so long for him to die, like he's
Yeah.
fighting back, like it's a battle of their minds, and
Yep.
like you see him just slowly disintegrating away, and then Logan like's crawling in, and you see him like do the slow turn to him, and then
Yeah.
poof, he's gone.
Yep.
And that whole scene, like all the effects around it, the levitating house and all that, like that was, I think that was like
Cool.
the best scene in the movie to watch because it was showing, oh, she's so strong she can take out Professor X with her mind, you know.
Mhm. And he has the
And-
most powerful mind in the world, so like, oh shit.
Yeah, like I think it was a good representation of her powers, and it was a kind of an emotional scene.
Yeah.
I say kind of because it wasn't really like when you're watching
Yeah.
it, you don't feel the connection of him dying, but that
Yeah.
might just be me. But
No,
like-
I got you.
like he dies, and then go to the funeral. That funeral part, you know, that just kind of took everything away from it for me, because
Yeah.
they're all like, oh, he wanted to create something, he wanted to change everyone's views, he didn't, but he wanted to. That's
Yeah.
basically what she said. And then
Yeah.
Logan's over there, oh, I'm too cool to sit over there.
Yeah.
Like, come
He's
on,
not,
man.
He's like not even dressed up. He's just in like a tank top, but like.
Yeah, he's
It's
just
like,
standing
damn, that's
there
really
watching.
respectful. Way to go, Wolverine. Jesus.
Yeah. And then we look back at the graves, and then there's just
Yeah.
just the two, and then
Yeah.
Xavier's
The
giant, one,
Yeah.
bro. And it's
Yeah.
funny because they buried him before they did it for Scott. So
Yeah, I know. I was like, bruh, Scott died before him. Why'd you, what? Like, they didn't even have a funeral for him. We didn't see the gravestone for like the last 5 minutes of the movie. So it's like,
Yeah.
bruh. Like, again, everyone just really hates Cyclops.
apparently,
Like, Jesus. So, yeah. Like, everything with Professor X, I think, is just... Again, like, the thing I have to say is that the reason that this movie gets a lot of shit for me in particular is that this is, like, the end of the trilogy. Like, this is really the
Yeah.
last time everything gets wrapped up for everybody. So for it to just do everything, like, negate everything from, like, the last two movies, I think is a gigantic issue with this movie in particular. Because, like,
Yeah.
every storyline that they were trying to establish, just, I think, just was shit in this one. So,
Yeah.
it's just, like, it definitely gets an extra bad for it because it's just the end of it. So,
yeah.
it just
And
sucks.
the reason why they killed him off, like you said before, is just to take him out of the movie because he's that
Too
strong.
powerful. Yep.
Yeah. They've done him, like, they've done him so dirty in this movie because they show him for a little bit and they're like, oh, nope, you can't be in here anymore because you're too strong.
Yep.
So this
And
time we're
it
just
just
gonna
is-
kill you, so it's easy.
Yeah.
And
And that again, that wouldn't have bothered me if they had him, if they did him good in the other movies. Like if he did a lot in this movie and then died in the next one, then I would feel something, especially.
yeah,
But if this one's like, nope.
yeah, and again, like you said, this is a wrap up of the trilogy. So when they have like a post credit scene, like, oh, Xavier's alive. Oh, Magneto's
Yeah.
getting his powers back. Like, that's not how you end something.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
you don't. Oh, that also just pissed me off. Everything about
Yeah.
this movie, bro.
Yeah.
Like, they can't keep it consistent. They just
No.
like, oh, he died. Oh no, he didn't.
Yep.
Like, choose
Oh
a
my gosh, she's
path
got
and
she
stick
lost
with it.
her powers. Nah, she didn't. She lost her powers. Nah, she didn't. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, Angel.
Oh yeah.
That's a negative. You know why? He's not in the movie.
Yeah. Like, the first time we see him, he's trying to cut his wings off. You're like, okay, a new character. That's cool.
Yeah.
Then Yeah, like he's the son of the creator of the cure, right?
Yep.
Yep. So that storyline, I guess, makes sense. So he's the first one
Yeah.
who's like going to get the cure, but he jumps out the window and flies away. So we don't get to see. Yeah, we don't get to see the effects of the cure until Mystique, which is
Yep.
weird.
Mhm.
But all right, so he flies away. Then he comes back at the end of the movie because the little boy's gonna. I don't know. He's afraid for the little boy, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like we didn't see them. Did we see him interact in this whole movie?
Nope.
No, it was just the boy and Beast were the only ones to interact with him, except for Kitty at the end. So
Yeah.
it didn't make sense for him to be like, "Oh, the boy,
Yeah.
gotta save the boy."
Yeah, and even that didn't amount to anything either.
Yeah, we didn't see him. We didn't see
Nope.
him after that.
No, well, he went to the school for mutants, but it's like, bro, I wouldn't let this kid go to the school for mutants because his power is taking away mutants. So,
Yeah, like it's like I think his whole point of going there was just for Storm to be like, no, the school's still open, because she was on the fence of keeping it open, but no, this guy came, and she's like, no, we must keep it open. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like
And
that was his whole point,
point.
just to be there.
Yeah, and then he saved his dad from falling, and then
Yep, and then he flew
flew
off
in the
into the
sky.
sunset.
So what's the point of him? Like, I think he only had like 2 lines in the movie, so
Probably.
it's like, what's the point? Why would you even put him in here? It's like, it's just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Ugh.
Again, another character wasted, because that's what The Last
Yep.
Stand does good. And
Yep.
I feel bad for, like, the little mutant boy, because it's like, dude, you also do nothing. You're the whole antithesis of this plot, because you're you're the cure, technically.
Yeah.
And then, oh, we gotta save him. Alright, he's gone. Alright. It's just like, what?
I'm pretty sure. I'm not entirely sure, but I think they didn't explain it very well. But I think their whole plan was to get the kid, and stop him, so he or, like,
Yeah.
find a way so that he can't make the cure anymore, which
Yeah.
I don't get. Like,
Mhm.
I get that they're basing the cure off the kid, but just I don't know. There's much better ways they could have done that.
Yeah.
Like their whole battle sequence is cool, but when you actually look at it, what was their point of being there to
Mhm.
take out the cure? But
Yeah.
how are they gonna do that? Because they don't even get
Yeah.
inside. Like,
Yeah, it's like, bro, if you guys like try to get in there, you can't use your powers. So,
exactly.
I guess I guess Magneto could like just throw a car at it from far away and hope for the best. But
Yeah.
oh, and again, speaking of throwing cars, like Pyro's in this movie.
Is he really? Yeah.
The only thing
his
he
whole
does is
thing.
flame cars.
Yeah, and then the scene where he's like, "Oh, I woulda killed Professor X if I had gotten the chance," and then Magneto's like, "No," then walks away.
Yeah, pretty much. And again, we never ever see Pyro again. So.
Yep. Like they have that one. He has that one fight with Iceman, and then no, nothing else.
Yep.
Like he freezes his hands, and then okay, bye.
Yep. He's gone. And
Yeah.
that's just the thing. It's like, again, like we're almost at Phoenix. Like I think that's the last point we gotta talk about. But before that, there is like, this movie killed the franchise. I'd say.
Definitely. I
Like-
totally agree.
Yeah, because this movie especially like had everything from the last movies, and this movie just completely ruined them. And so
Yeah.
I think like, I don't know, they might have been planning on X-Men 4 again by like the post-credit scenes. You'd think so, but
Yeah.
it's just like nope, they never made a 4. You know why? Because this movie was just that bad. So
Yep.
it just. That's another point. It's like this again. If this movie didn't suck as much as it did, we might have gotten X-Men 4 or 5 or other ones. But No,
Yeah.
this movie just fucked up everything so bad that they were like, oh shit, now we gotta make prequel movies.
Exactly. It's a hard
So,
reset.
Yeah, exactly. And again, next movie for X-Men, we still got a couple years until, well, a couple years in the movie series till we get to that.
Yeah.
2009 is when X-Men Origins came out, which is a prequel, which also is, I honestly think, is worse than this movie. But that's a prequel, and then the one after that's like a hard reset prequel. So it's like this movie just completely killed everything. So it's
Yeah,
just
like you said to me earlier, like this movie's the beginning of the end for X-Men.
yep.
So,
Yeah,
really
yeah.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, and again, guys, like, I wasn't kidding. Like, after like X-Men 2, there are only 2 more good X-Men movies, like, that are called X-Men, because Logan's good,
Mhm.
and Deadpool's,
Yeah.
but those don't really count. But like for X-Men movies, there's only 2 more good ones, and the rest of them are awful. So it just is like really sad. It's like,
Yeah.
damn, they can't make a good one, and it all started with this one because this is the one it was like, so.
Yep.
It's
Just like the
yeah.
characters in this movie.
Yeah,
Just
yep.
disappeared.
Yeah. Well, all right. Time to get into the big one. Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix. What's your opinion on Jean Grey, Ethan?
Well, you know, in the previous movies, she was okay. She was, she did that weird sacrifice thing at the end. But now, first thing she does when she comes back, kills Cyclops. And then she has a mental breakdown. Then, she's just like unconscious, so they bring her back to the mansion. Then she tries to fuck Logan. And then, then she tries to kill him. And then she walks out and then runs away to her house,
As you do.
Yeah, of course. And then levitate the things around you, as one does in their home. Then they have that whole fight. Then she, for some reason, just joins Magneto. And then does nothing for the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's... That sucks. Oh. So that's a big negative for me. Like, her whole storyline is her standing next to Magneto doing nothing. Like,
Yep.
Magneto's like, oh, she's our greatest weapon. And then,
Even though she does
again, she just stands there until she gets killed.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. I can't stand this movie, bro.
I know. Like,
And there you go.
well, I was just gonna say, like, she's the most powerful mutant, like, in the world. So, as the director clearly has shown in this movie, he does great with representing their powers and how they should be
Yeah.
used. And then clearly the best way to represent her is to make her just stand there and do nothing,
Yeah.
occasionally kill someone,
Yeah.
and then have a mental breakdown at the end, and she's like, kill me, please. And he's like, I love you.
God.
Dead.
Oh, Jesus.
So
Christ.
okay.
Oh, God. And well, I didn't remember, which is weird. Apparently, like, the Dark Phoenix is like a split personality thing. Like that.
Yeah,
was
I think-
dumb.
Yeah. The way I'm glad they actually explained this. The one thing they explain in this movie is that he put psychic barriers in to, like, seal away her power so that she doesn't, go out of control and just kill everyone. But it's hard to say if him doing that made her evil,
Yeah.
or if she would have become evil if the power was left to her. Like, the
Yeah.
power just, if it were to just corrupt her regardless of his psychic barriers or whatever.
Yeah, and again, they probably. I mean, I know for a fact they did a better job with Dark Phoenix in the comics, but I just don't really know,
Yeah.
like, the point of it. And
Yeah.
like, what I do kind of think is weird is that, like, in the Dark Phoenix movie, which they also did a shit job on Dark Phoenix in that one. God, how do you fuck up the same storyline twice? It's beyond me. But in that movie, I don't remember it being a split personality. So
Yeah.
it's like, do they like what are they trying to do here? Like I don't. And even in Dark Phoenix, like she became Dark Phoenix because of an alien thing in space. But in this one, it's like, oh, it's just when
just
she's on
happened.
her period. Yeah, so it's like I don't get it.
Yeah, like
It's very weird.
It's different. It's weird to see how, like he said, the power began to give itself its own name, calling it the Phoenix. Which I was like, okay, I didn't know that's how that worked. I didn't know that was how her
Okay.
powers worked, but okay.
No, me neither. Oh, and even in like the beginning of the movie, when like horrible faced CGI Patrick Stewart and Magneto showed up, and then young Jean raised everything in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
and yet in the first act and second movie, she could barely lift like a pencil. So it's like, huh? Like,
Yeah, and
where
I
was
think-
that?
Again, I think that's just his psychic barriers, which when you look back at it, it kind of explains in the second movie why she got a huge power boost
Yeah.
after whatever happened. Like, it would make sense that not Magneto, Professor X's powers would have faded away
Yeah.
throughout
That makes sense, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of cool when you look back on it. Oh, she's had this, like, it's been coming up this whole time.
Mhm.
And then once she, quote unquote, died in the second one,
Yeah.
it, like, I guess maybe he dropped the barriers, I don't know, because he couldn't sense her anymore.
Yeah.
So that just fully released her power.
Mhm.
But she was
Yeah,
at the
that makes
bottom of
sense.
the lake, so,
Yeah.
you know.
It's like she was
might
still
have
alive,
died, and it
so.
well, she is a phoenix, so it could have revived her or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's weird that she waited so long and then mentally called out to Scott just for her
Yeah.
to float out of the river. Like, it was weird. It didn't make
Yeah.
sense.
And like the passage of time, I think is weird. Like, how long
Yeah.
has it been since the second movie? Like it.
I don't
it's
know.
like it had to have been like a couple years, right?
I would assume
So-
so,
And
since
like, dude, bro,
they seem
Scott's still that bad after a few years?
yeah,
like,
like he like his
Jesus.
in this in the movie he's just like full depressed, won't do anything.
Yeah, it's like, dude, have you been just sitting in your room moping for like, God knows how many years?
Yeah, and it was long enough for Logan to leave again and then come back. Just
yeah.
Plan to leave again. So
Yeah, it's just God, fuck this movie, bro. I can't.
yeah, it was not good. Not good.
No. No. So yeah, everything there was weird. But like again, the whole Dark Phoenix storyline, just I don't know why the hell they'd want to put that in this movie. It's like I said earlier, it would have been so much better if they had like kept her dead in this movie and then had like the big surprise at the end of her showing up and then setting up
Yeah.
for the fourth movie. That would have been so much better. But it's just like, now we're gonna cram, and the thing is, they didn't even cram the two plot lines together. It was mostly to Cure with like a little bit of Dark Phoenix in there,
Yeah.
and she didn't do anything until the very end when she wanted to die. And like again, like the whole split personality thing is so weird because Jean's like, "Oh, kill me, please, kill me," and then Phoenix is like, "Lamau, stop, shut up, bitch." And, like, it's like,
Yeah.
like there's not really like a split personality there. It's mainly just like Phoenix is there, but
Yeah.
Jean occasionally squeaks out, and even then you can't really tell it's a different person.
Yeah.
So it's just so weird.
Yeah, and then at the end, like, I don't even know why they didn't try to use the cure on her.
Yeah,
'Cause that
like
might
why
have
didn't you bring the
worked.
kid next to her? Put the kid next to her. That'll
Yeah.
get rid of her powers.
Yeah, like there was so many ways they could have taken away her powers instead of,
Mhm.
killing her.
Yeah.
And it was funny to also that she just let Magneto get his powers taken away.
Yeah, she just
Like,
stood there
she
and
was
was
just
like, huh, that's funny.
Stood there and watched.
Yeah.
and then Logan, tries to talk her down from like from killing everyone, and then the army's like, "Oh, attack!" Like,
It's like, you fucking idiot.
yes. No,
Like,
she
did she even do anything yet? Or is she just, like, standing there?
she stood there. No,
Yeah, and
she
they were like,
she
"Oh."
hadn't done anything. She just stood and watched everything happen, and then
Yeah, and
they're
then the
like,
military's like, "Oh, attack the one who's just standing there doing nothing. Get her!" It's like, bruh. Like, you don't even know if she's on your side or not. Like, what? What?
and then literally kills them all in 2 seconds.
Yep. Yeah, she killed the entire Brotherhood. She killed, like, everybody except for,
Yeah.
like, Magneto, I think. So.
Yeah, everyone except Logan died.
Yeah.
Like, everyone around them died.
Yep.
I think, and then the only way Logan survived was his regeneration.
Yeah, and that was admittedly cool when he was walking towards
Mhm.
her and, like, his skin was ripping off and you could see his metal skeleton. Like, that was cool.
Yeah.
But his pants, unfortunately, staying on. Like, that sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, whoa, he's got indestructible pants.
Yeah. It's like, what?
Because consistency is key
yeah,
in this
'cause-
movie.
Yeah, we can't show PP. This movie's PG-13.
And then, like, the thought of his only choice was to kill her. Like, no, you had other options, but
Yeah.
I guess killing her was supposed to be emotional and like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the only way to stop her or whatever.
Mhm.
But it
Yep.
wasn't. Clearly it wasn't. So
Yeah. And the thing is, too, like, those military guys shot at her from behind, right? And all
Yeah.
those things just fell. It's like, hey, Logan, I'd be okay with, like, him walking up to her and being like, oh, I love you, and that shit's still happening. But what he should have done is stabbed her in, like the legs or something, in a place where, like, she won't die. And then, like, reach behind her to grab the cure, like,
Yeah.
the millions of cures that are behind her, and then stab her with it. Or just pick up the kid and chuck it at her, because it's like she can't stop the kid because it can take away powers. So it's like, bruh, because the kid just ran past her because it had to have escaped. So if it
Yeah.
ran past her, you'd think like, oh, maybe she'll lose her powers. So it's like, I mean, if they
Yeah.
wanted to establish that, like, oh yeah, even this kid who can't take away mutant powers can't take away her powers, then they should have done something to establish that. Because now we're just thinking like, hey, why didn't they use the mutant taker awayer to take away her
Yeah.
powers? So it's just so stupid.
it really was.
Like, they didn't need to kill her, and it's just, again, they do Dark Phoenix later, and they don't do any better of a job. But it's just like, how do you mess up a story like that everyone likes
I don't
twice?
know. They should have done some, reviewing on this movie to make
Yeah.
Dark Phoenix. But
Mhm.
yeah,
It's
this
just
movie,
ridiculous.
yeah, like you said before, this movie would have done perfectly fine on its own without the
Mhm.
whole Dark Phoenix storyline.
Yeah.
But to kind of, find a reason for her to be in there, it was like, oh, they're gonna, put her alongside the Cure, so maybe they use the Cure on her. That's why they put her and the Cure together.
Yeah.
But then they just never ended up doing that. Like,
Yeah. It's like, oh, so there's really no reason for these two plot lines to be in the same movie. So
yeah, exactly.
it's just sad. But yeah. So Dark Phoenix just in general just fucking sucked. So
Yep.
it's just like, again, this whole movie like was wasted, and you could legit skip this movie and just
Mhm.
erase it and nothing would really change.
Yep.
So
we coulda-
it just is really bummed out because, again, in the later movies, like, eventually you know that Professor X and Magneto show back up, but it's just like they don't explain ever how Professor X came back. He's just back. And Magneto, they're just like, oh yeah, he has his powers back, because they never mentioned a cure ever again. So
Yeah.
it's just like they just ignore this movie. Like, the only thing that they like talk about later is like, oh, Jean's dead, and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole thing is like, you could legit just skip this movie and nothing would really change. So it's just really stupid.
Yeah, it really
That how
is.
like inconsequential this movie is. So
Yeah. And I wonder a way to maybe justify it, since you said that the other people that she killed came back, right?
yep.
So maybe once she died, or maybe she's not actually killing them. It may look like she is, but maybe she's just like sending them to a different place or something like that. And then once
Yeah.
she died, like they came back. I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be nice if they explained something, but
Yeah,
this-
because like when she's killing everybody, she never leaves bodies.
yeah, they
So,
just turn into
that would
smoke.
work.
So
Mm.
it's entirely possible. I don't do comics, so I don't know if I don't know exactly if that's what happens, or she just kills
I
them.
don't know.
But like this whole trilogy has shown, they can explain things. So again, yeah, it followed into this movie, so we have no idea what happened. So
Yep. Yeah. So
it's just
I mean, I guess a positive though I have to say is that this movie did to me at least felt like a little bit longer than the first X-Men. Like it didn't
Yeah.
feel that long at all to me. Like 'cause the second one I do think was really good, but it was also a little too long, I think.
mhm.
But like this one didn't feel long at all, so I guess we weren't in agony for that long.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this one actually felt like a movie, kind of.
yeah. Yeah.
Felt like the
So-
length of the movie, but
Mhm.
know.
I know what you mean. Alright, so I think that's everything I have to say about the movie. So I think we should get
Yeah.
into like how we felt about it compared to everything else that we've watched so far.
yeah.
So
So for
hmm.
me, rating it between these three X-Men movies that we've watched,
Mhm.
I would definitely say this is second.
Yeah.
I'd say the second one would be first, this one
Mhm.
second, and then the first one is third.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rate the first and second one on the same level, but
Mm-hmm.
this movie is, I'd say, a little bit better than the first one, but
Mhm.
you can definitely see that they have similar kind of ratings. Like,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
And
Like-
it sucks because like the first one I think isn't like that bad. Like
Yeah.
I didn't hate it, but it's like it's not something that I would watch again.
Yeah.
So it's just something where it's like, okay, that one is just boring. But and even though this one is bad, at least it's sort of enjoyable bad.
Yeah.
Like I still hate it, but it's still like I'd rather watch this than watch the first X-Men.
Yeah.
So, I know what you're talking about, but like the first and second feel like part of something. Like they feel like they can take place. This one just feels
Yeah.
completely out of place though. So
Yeah, because they also
It's-
they changed actors for the president, so that was different. Like they
yeah.
changed so much in this movie, it just feels disconnected from the other two,
Yeah.
which it.
Oh
it's-
yeah, and that's something too. It's like the president thing. It's like you'd like to assume that maybe the president, like we just have a new president, but
Yeah.
at the same time it's like, oh, so then that means it must have been quite a while since the last movie then, because so it's like how long has it been? Because like has Scott been crying for a whole presidential term? Like what the hell?
Yeah,
That's so weird.
and the way they said it, like at the beginning, they were like, "Oh, the president accepts us now," which would
Yeah.
lead you to assume it's the same guy, because in the last movie they went into the White House and showed him all these things, and they're like
Yeah.
convincing them that they're the good guys.
Mm-hmm. By
And then the
scaring
next
shit
movie
out of
just-
them.
Yeah, yeah. And then the next movie just completely different, completely different dude, just some random old guy.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even realize that was the president until Mystique turned into him at the
Yeah.
like in the trailer. So like
Way to go, movie.
Again. This movie is so disconnected from the other two
yeah.
that it just it's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. So I completely agree with the ranking. Like this one's definitely better. but only it's not though. But even though it is, it's weird
Yeah.
to explain. But
Yeah,
everyone, you know what we mean.
yeah, it's on the same level but for different reasons, basically. So, in rating it out of 10, I'd say it's a 7 or 6.5, 6.5 or
Gotcha.
7.
Yeah,
So,
gotcha. I'd give it like a 5.1. I don't know. Because like I don't want to give it like a high score, but it's
Yeah.
like I don't want to give it any lower either because just I don't know. I want to give it like a 4, but at the same time it's like I don't know. I know that there are worse movies, so
yeah, in
because
my
I don't
reasoning,
remember what I gave Spider-Man 2, and I don't want to give it higher. I don't want to give it lower than Spider-Man 2. So.
Yeah. Yeah, well, for my reasoning is it's like in the first movie it was more action, and no story. This
Yeah.
one actually had story and cool action in it, so I would say
Yeah.
it's a bit higher just because of that. But then
Yeah.
they did the storyline so badly that it brings it back down. So again, that's why I put it at the same level, but it's still better. So
Yeah, I get that. All right, and now for the biggest of hot takes in the world, this movie is still leagues ahead of Spider-Man 2. It is. I know. I read the comments last time. Pretty sure you did too. Where there were people being like, "Wait, really? You thought
Yeah.
that movie was bad?" And I'm like, "Yep." And
Yeah.
now I'm gonna give an even bigger hot take that X-Men 3 is still better than that movie by a lot. Because this
Yeah,
one is
I-
actually enjoyable.
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say I 100% agree. This movie, I'd say, is better because it actually had me enjoying watching it.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable to watch as Spider-Man 2 was just there, you know.
Yep.
It was just there.
Mhm.
So
Like, it's really sad because everyone loves Spider-Man 2 and everyone hates this movie. So I think it's so weird because I'm like, because again, before we watched this, I was like, oh fuck, I don't want to watch this movie again. I don't want to watch this movie. And watching it now, I'm like, yep, still sucks. But legit, after watching Spider-Man 2, I'm like, wow, it's not as bad as that. Holy shit. I
Yeah.
thought it was worse. I guess not. So
Yeah.
it's not better than the first Spider-Man, definitely. But, like, oh boy, I really hate Spider-Man 2, bro. I can't do it.
I completely understand.
Mhm. God. So, yeah, so definitely, I'd say it's like not. Again, we'll get into Spider-Man 3 next week, but this one's definitely worse than Spider-Man 3 because I remember liking that one, except for Venom. So that one I'm excited for because that's what we're going to be getting into next week. So, yeah, I think is that all you have to say about this movie?
Yep.
Cool. Alright, so that's X-Men The Last Stand. Definitely the weakest, I'd say, of X-Men, even though I still think it's better than the first one. It's really weird to say, but you guys know what we mean. So,
Yeah.
this is the movie that killed the franchise, so we're pretty much done with core X-Men movies for a little bit, because now we're going to be moving into, like, the prequel stuff. So, next time we're going to be looking at Spider-Man 3, which, thank God, please be as good as I remember it being, because I don't know if I can handle
I
that.
know.
But then after that, we finally get into actual MCU stuff, because after Spider-Man 3 we get into the first Iron Man. So, finally.
I know.
Yeah, and then we don't get X-Men for a little bit, so we get X-Men break for now, so that's good.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, overall, Ethan, you give this like a 6 or 7 out of 10, and I'll give
Yep.
this like a 4, I guess. So, yeah, that's X-Men. So, finally done with the trilogy, and now we get to next week finish the Spider-Man trilogy. So, if you guys are looking forward to that, make sure to like this video, comment what you thought, comment how awful people we are for rating this above Spider-Man 2. So, yeah, and we will see you next week for the final Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. So, see you guys later.
Bye-bye.